I just want to do a quick presentation on deploying a Phoenix app to Heroku. A bunch of people have probably done this already, but in case you haven't, just a quick flip through what you need to do. I needed a little test app, so I made a little URL shortener called Flink, because it's a Phoenix app. I'd seen that Chris was complaining about you can't really see that very well, but the URL to install the archive for Phoenix for 0.11. So just thought, right, that'll be an interesting idea. So I'm going to assume that you know how to set up and push a Heroku app and all that kind of stuff. You've done that before. There's documentation there on Heroku if you haven't. I'm also going to assume that I've probably forgotten the step somewhere because I did this over the last few days and I've probably forgotten something. So if you notice something I've forgotten, please shout. So the first thing you're going to need is the Elixir build pack for Heroku, which is #nuke Heroku build pack Elixir. You can create a new app with it, or like I did, you can add it to an existing app. The default configs it works pretty well, but I actually added the secret key base here so that I could basically set my secret key through a Heroku environment variable, because originally I'd accidentally committed it to the repo, which you don't really want. So it's different from this. This is the one that I committed to the repo. It's different now, so try hacking away. But that's your prod.secret.exs in config in a Phoenix app. And to make it work on Heroku, I had to, so the secret key base uses system.getenv. I think there's something built into Ecto, which will do this. You probably can't see it, but the system database URL will go and look that up. And you then need to set your config variables. Heroku gives you that database something, some color, whatever URL. So I just copied that into the database URL environment variable. And to make a new secret, this is basically how Phoenix does it when it's generating a new app. So you can just type that into IEX and then do Heroku config set. And when you do git push Heroku master, then that actually worked if I got all the steps right. But when you go to your Heroku app and you have a look at it, your assets will be, there won't be any assets, there'll be no CSS or JavaScript. What would be ideal and what Chris wants, I think, is a build pack that will actually run brunch on when it builds. Nobody's had time to do that yet. It doesn't exist at the moment. If you want to do that, that'd be great. So what you can actually do is basically just, what I did was comment out the git ignore, lines in git ignore for priv static CSS, which is where you build them in development, and just deploy that. It's not ideal in any way, shape, or form, but I just wanted to get it done, so that was that. Performance, I'd read the Erlang and OTP in Action book by Manning, so basically one of the things they do is you use a process to cache. So when you look up a URL in this thing with a short code, it starts a process that will live for 5 minutes, and next time you look it up, it'll avoid that database hit. So totally unnecessary, but pretty easy to implement. It's really fast on a single dyno. Like at home on my home internet, I got thousands of requests a second. When I tried it out locally using Observer, I could cache 10,000 URLs, and the process was about 80 megs. And when the cache expired, when all those processes died, the memory was given back, so fantastic. Eric tweeted this the other day. Basically, Hex, a few people have mentioned it. It's kind of actually disappointing to me that it works that well on Heroku, because one day I want to have something that will have a C4X large with like 36 cores and 60 gigs of memory, and I obviously just need one dyno at the moment, so it's a bit disappointing. So that's basically how you deploy to Heroku. I think that's probably my 5 minutes. Please shout if there's something that hasn't been working. The last thing is just a bit of a laugh. I like the stream.async stuff yesterday from Jose, but I want to be the first person to suggest modifications to the pipeline operator to avoid having to put that stream.async call in. Thank you very much.